The Lost Colony of Roanoke, America's First Mystery. Welcome, dear listeners, to the first chapter of our series, Top 10 Mysterious Historical Disappearances. Tonight, we journey back to the dawn of America's colonial era, to a place where hope and hardship collided in a tale that has puzzled historians for centuries. This is the story of the Lost Colony of Roanoke, where 117 English settlers vanished without a trace in 1587, leaving behind only cryptic clues and endless speculation. So find a quiet corner, let your imagination take flight, and join me as we uncover the mystery of America's first ghost town. A new world beckons. Our story begins in the late 16th century, when England, under Queen Elizabeth I, sought to establish a foothold in the New World. The Queen, eager to challenge Spain's dominance in the Americas, commissioned Sir Walter Raleigh to lead an expedition. Raleigh, a courtier and explorer, dreamed of riches, glory, and a permanent English settlement. In 1585, he sent a group of 108 men to Roanoke Island, off the coast of what is now North Carolina. The island, named after the native Roanoke people, seemed ideal. Fertile soil, abundant wildlife, and a strategic location. But the colony's start was rocky. The settlers, mostly soldiers and gentlemen unused to labor, struggled with the harsh environment. Supplies dwindled, and tensions with the local Native Americans grew. By 1586, the colonists were ready to abandon ship when Sir Francis Drake arrived with his fleet. He offered them passage home, and they seized it, leaving Roanoke empty. But Raleigh was undeterred. In 1587, he organized a second attempt, this time with 117 settlers, including women and children, led by John White. White, an artist who had mapped the area, was to be governor. The plan was simple: establish a self-sustaining colony, farm the land, and trade with the natives. But from the outset, things went awry. The settlers arrived late in the season, missing planting time. Tensions with the natives escalated, and supplies ran low. White decided to return to England for reinforcements, leaving behind his daughter Eleanor, son-in-law Ananias Dare, and granddaughter Virginia, the first English child born in America. He promised to return soon, but fate had other plans. The vanishing act, White's return to England, was ill-timed. The Spanish Armada threatened invasion, and all ships were commandeered for defense. It wasn't until 1590 that White could sail back to Roanoke. As his ship approached the island, he searched for signs of life, smoke from fires, the English flag waving. But there was nothing. The settlement was deserted, the houses dismantled, and the colonists gone. What White found instead was a cryptic message carved into a tree, Croatoan. On a post, Xar-O was etched. Croatoan was the name of a nearby island and a friendly native tribe. White assumed the colonists had relocated there, perhaps due to famine or attack. But a storm prevented him from investigating, and he was forced to return to England, never to see Roanoke again. The 117 settlers, including his family, had vanished without a trace. No bodies, no graves, no signs of struggle. What happened to them? This question has haunted historians for over 400 years. Theories that tease the imagination. The mystery of Roanoke has spawned countless theories, each more intriguing than the last. One popular idea is assimilation with the natives. The colonists, facing starvation, may have sought refuge with the Croatoan tribe, intermarrying and adopting their ways. In 1709, explorer John Lawson reported gray-eyed natives who claimed English ancestry. Recent DNA tests On Hatteras Island, descendants show European markers, but results are inconclusive. Another theory suggests massacre by hostile tribes. The Powhatan chief in Virginia claimed to have killed the colonists, but his motives, perhaps to intimidate English settlers, are suspect. Archaeological digs have found no evidence of violence at Roanoke. Drought and famine are also suspects. Tree ring studies show the worst drought in 800 years hit Roanoke in 1587, crippling crops. The colonists may have starved or fled inland, perishing in the wilderness. More outlandish theories abound. Some say they were abducted by aliens or lost in the Bermuda Triangle. Others link it to the Lost Colony legend, suggesting supernatural forces. But these lack evidence, serving more as entertainment than explanation. Recent digs at Site X on Hatteras Island have found English pottery mixed with native artifacts, hinting at integration. But no definitive proof exists. The mystery endures, a tantalizing puzzle that keeps us guessing. The Croatoan clue and beyond. The word Croatoan is the colony's most famous clue. White instructed the settlers to carve a distress cross if in danger, but none was found. This suggests a voluntary move. But why Croatoan? The tribe was friendly, and Monteo, a Croatoan native, was part of the colony. Perhaps they sought refuge there. White's 1590 search was thwarted by storms, but later expeditions found no trace. In 1607, Jamestown settlers heard rumors of English survivors living with natives, but searches yielded nothing. In 1701, John Lawson encountered Hatteras natives with gray eyes and English names, claiming descent from Roanoke. But without DNA confirmation, it's speculation. Archaeology offers hope. The Lost Colony Project uses radar and digs to search sites. In 2012, a map patch revealed a fort symbol on Roanoke, but excavations found little. At Site X, English artifacts suggest survivors integrated with natives. But the full story remains elusive, a whisper in the wind. A legacy of mystery and inspiration. Roanoke's disappearance has inspired countless books, films, and theories. From the Lost Colony play to TV shows like American Horror Story, it's a staple of American folklore. It represents the perils of colonization, the clash of cultures, the harshness of the New World, and the fragility of human endeavor. But Roanoke is more than a mystery. It's a reminder of history's gaps, the settlers' fate, assimilation, massacre, or something else may never be known. Yet their story endures, a testament to the enduring allure of the unknown. As we reflect on this ancient enigma, we are left with questions that echo through time. What really happened to the lost colony? And what other secrets lie hidden in the mists of history? The Lost Colony of Roanoke invites us to keep searching, to keep questioning, and to keep marveling at the wonders of the past. It is a tale that reminds us that some stories are not meant to have endings, but to inspire us with their mystery. Amelia Earhart's disappearance, the final flight. In the sweltering heat of a low airstrip in New Guinea on July 2nd, 1937, Amelia Earhart climbed into the cockpit of her Lockheed Electra, her eyes fixed on the horizon. Beside her sat navigator Fred Noonan, a man whose skills had guided ships across vast oceans. They were on the penultimate leg of Earhart's ambitious around-the-world flight, a journey that had already tested their limits with mechanical failures, bad weather, and exhaustion. The plane, heavy with fuel for the 2,556-mile hop to tiny Howland Island, rumbled down the runway and lifted into the sky. Little did they know, this takeoff would mark the beginning of one of aviation's greatest mysteries. What happened to Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan? Did they crash into the Pacific, or was there a more sinister fate? As we continue our exploration of mysterious historical disappearances, let's follow the trail of clues, theories, and unanswered questions that have haunted searchers for over 80 years. The ambitious flight and its perils. Earhart's around the world flight was no spur of the moment adventure. It was a meticulously planned endeavor, sponsored by Purdue University and designed to make her the first woman to circumnavigate the globe at the equator. Starting from Oakland, California, on May 21, 1937, Earhart and Noonan had already covered 22,000 miles, crossing deserts, oceans, and jungles. But the Pacific leg was the most daunting, vast stretches of empty ocean with few landmarks and no room for error. The flight from Leh to Howland Island was particularly risky. Howland was a speck of land, just 6,500 feet long and 1,600 feet wide, surrounded by endless blue. To aid navigation, the U.S. Coast Guard cutter, Itasca, was stationed near the island, broadcasting signals for Earhart to home in on. But as the Electra droned over the Pacific, problems arose. Earhart's radio messages grew increasingly frantic. "We must be on you, but cannot see you," she transmitted. "Gas is running low." Her last words at 8:43 a.m. were, "We are on the line 157 to 337. We will repeat this message. We will repeat this on 6210 kilocycles. Wait." Then silence. What went wrong? Some believe a navigation error, perhaps due to cloudy weather or a miscalculation by Noonan, led them off course. Others point to mechanical issues. The Electra was overloaded with fuel, and its antennas may have been damaged during takeoff. But the most intriguing possibility is that Earhart and Noonan survived the crash, only to perish on a remote island or be captured by the Japanese, who controlled much of the Pacific at the time. The immediate search and heartbreak. The disappearance triggered one of the largest search efforts in history. The U.S. Navy dispatched ships and planes to scour 250,000 square miles of ocean, an area larger than Texas. The Itasca, already on station, began searching immediately, but found no wreckage, no oil slicks, nothing. President Franklin D. Roosevelt authorized a $4 million operation, but after 16 days, it was called off. Earhart and Noonan were declared lost at sea, but hope flickered. Reports of radio signals persisted for days after the disappearance. Amateur radio operators in the U.S. claimed to hear Earhart's voice, pleading for help with coordinates and mentions of ship on reef. Were these genuine or hoaxes? The U.S. Navy dismissed them as fakes, but some researchers argue they were real, suggesting Earhart landed on Gardner Island, now Nikumaroro, part of the Phoenix Islands. In 1937, a British survey team visited Gardner Island, finding no trace of Earhart. But in 1940, bones were discovered there, along with a woman's shoe and a sextant box similar to Noonan's. Sent to Fiji for analysis, the bones were deemed male, and the matter dropped. In 1998, the International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery, TIGAR, re-examined the measurements, concluding they matched a woman of Earhart's build. Expeditions to Nikumaroro have found artifacts, a freckle cream jar like Earhart's, a zipper pull from the 1930s, but no definitive proof. Could Earhart have survived on this desolate island, only to succumb to thirst or injury? The theory tantalizes, but the evidence teeters on the edge of certainty. The Japanese capture theory. Another theory casts a darker shadow, that Earhart was captured by the Japanese. In 1937, Japan controlled the Marshall Islands near her flight path. Some claim she was forced down and taken prisoner, accused of spying. Witnesses in the Marshalls reported seeing a white woman and man detained, and a 1960s book, Daughter of the Sky, alleged Earhart died in Japanese custody on Saipan. In 2017, a photo from the U.S. National Archives surfaced, purportedly showing Earhart and Noonan on a dock in the Marshalls. The History Channel aired a documentary claiming it proved the capture theory, but experts debunked it. The photo dated to 1935, before her flight. Still, the theory persists, fueled by declassified documents hinting at U.S. intelligence awareness. Did the U.S. government know her fate and cover it up to avoid war with Japan? The question hangs like fog over the Pacific, modern searches and enduring mystery. Since 1937, over $13 million has been spent on searches, from naval operations to private expeditions. Tiger has led 13 trips to Nikumaroro, finding artifacts like a woman's compact and glass fragments matching Earhart's freckle cream jar. In 2019, explorer Robert Ballard, famous for finding the Titanic, searched the area with sonar and submersibles, but found no wreckage. In 2024, Deep Sea Vision used underwater drones to scan 5,200 square miles around Howland, spotting a sonar image resembling a plane. But further investigation revealed it was a natural rock formation. The mystery endures, a testament to Earhart's spirit, bold, unyielding, and forever reaching for the horizon. Earhart's disappearance is more than a mystery. It's a symbol of human daring and the unknown's allure. It reminds us that some stories don't end, they evolve, inspiring new generations to seek answers. Whether she crashed, was captured, or found refuge on a distant shore, her legacy flies on. A beacon for dreamers and explorers. The enigma of Amelia Earhart invites us to keep searching, to keep questioning, and to keep believing that the truth is out there, waiting to be found. The Mary Celeste Crew, the ghost ship of the Atlantic. Imagine a ship sailing silently across the vast Atlantic, its sails billowing in the wind, but with no one at the helm. The decks are empty, the cabins deserted, yet everything is in order, the cargo intact, the lifeboat missing, and a half-eaten meal left on the table. This is the enigma of the Mary Celeste, a merchant ship found adrift in 1872. Its crew vanished without a trace. The vessel, bound from New York to Genoa with a cargo of alcohol, carried Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, and a crew of 7 seasoned sailors. But when the ship was sighted by another vessel, the Dei Gratia, on December 5, 1872, it was a ghost ship, its inhabitants gone as if snatched by the sea itself. What happened to the crew of the Mary Celeste? Was it mutiny, piracy, or something more sinister? Let us journey back to a time of tall ships and treacherous seas to uncover a mystery that has baffled historians and sparked legends for over 150 years. The voyage begins. The Mary Celeste set sail from New York Harbor on November 7, 1872, loaded with 1,501 barrels of denatured alcohol destined for Italy. Captain Briggs, a devout Christian and experienced sailor, had chosen his crew carefully, men of good character, loyal, and skilled. His family accompanied him, a common practice for captains of the era. The ship was in fine condition, recently refitted, and the weather was fair. Nothing seemed amiss as the vessel slipped out to sea. But the Atlantic is a fickle mistress. Storms can arise without warning, and the sea holds dangers both natural and man-made. Pirates still prowled the waters, and the cargo of alcohol was flammable, a potential hazard if not handled carefully. Yet the Mary Celeste's log showed no signs of trouble. The last entry, dated November 25th, recorded the ship's position near the Azores, with all well on board. What happened in the days that followed remains a mystery. On December 5th, the Dei Gratia spotted the Mary Celeste sailing erratically, its sails partially set but no one at the wheel. Captain David Morehouse, who knew Briggs from New York, hailed the ship but received no response. He sent a boarding party, led by his first mate Oliver DeVoe, to investigate. What they found was eerie. The ship was deserted, but in good order. The cargo was intact, the lifeboat was missing, but the crew's personal belongings, pipes, clothing, even oilskins were left behind. The galley stove was cold, but a meal seemed recently prepared. The captain's log was open, his sword hanging on the wall. Sarah Briggs's sewing machine was out, with a half-finished garment. The child's toys were scattered on the floor. It was as if the crew had vanished mid-activity, leaving the ship to sail itself. The boarding party noted odd details. The ship's compass was shattered, and the sounding rod was wet, suggesting someone had checked the bilge recently. There was 3 feet of water in the hold, but the pumps were functional. The sails were set for fair weather, but one was torn. No signs of violence, no blood, no struggle. The crew had simply disappeared. Morehouse decided to salvage the ship, splitting his crew to sail both vessels to Gibraltar. But as they set course, questions swirled like the sea mist. What could have caused the crew to abandon a seaworthy ship? And where did they go? Theories that haunt the seas. The mystery of the Mary Celeste has inspired countless theories, each more intriguing than the last. One of the most popular is the fear of explosion. The cargo of denatured alcohol was volatile. Perhaps fumes built up and a barrel leaked, creating the illusion of imminent danger. The crew may have opened the hatches to ventilate, then fled in the lifeboat, only to perish at sea. But why not return when the danger passed, and why leave valuables behind? Another theory suggests piracy or mutiny. The Dei Gratia's crew was accused of foul play, killing the Mary Celeste's occupants for salvage rights. But Morehouse knew Briggs, and the ships left New York days apart. A planned rendezvous seems unlikely. No blood or struggle evidence was found, and the cargo was untouched. Mutiny among Briggs' trusted crew seems improbable, given their good character. Natural phenomena offer more exotic explanations. A waterspout or seaquake could have shaken the ship, frightening the crew into abandoning it. Or perhaps a giant squid attacked, a legend of the seas. But no damage consistent with such events was reported. Some point to alcohol fumes causing hallucinations, leading to panic. But the hatches were closed, and no strong odor was noted. The most chilling theory is the Marie Celeste half-eaten meal anomaly, suggesting the crew vanished suddenly. But DeVoe's testimony describes no half-eaten meal. That detail was added later by sensationalist writers like Arthur Conan Doyle, whose short story popularized the myth. Doyle's tale, J. Habakkuk Jeffson's statement, fictionalized the event, renaming the ship Marie Celeste and adding gruesome details. This fiction blurred with fact, fueling the legend. But what really happened? The truth remains as elusive as the ship itself, salvage, and scandal. The Mary Celeste arrived in Gibraltar on December 13th, 1872, where a salvage hearing was held. The Attorney General, Frederick Solly Flood, suspected foul play, detaining the Dei Gracia's crew for investigation. He examined the ship for bloodstains and found what he thought was blood on a sword and railings, but tests showed it was rust and food residue. A notch on a railing was deemed from an axe, suggesting violence, but it was likely from routine maintenance. After 3 months, the court awarded salvage rights to Morehouse, but only a fraction of the cargo's value, $1,700 instead of $8,000, due to suspicion. The Mary Celeste was sold, renamed, and sailed for 13 years before wrecking off Haiti in 1885, perhaps deliberately for insurance fraud, but the crew's fate remained unsolved, a ghost story of the seas. Modern investigations, an enduring mystery. The mystery has inspired books, films, and investigations. In 2002, documentary maker Anne McGregor re-examined the case, concluding the crew abandoned ship due to a faulty pump and fear of sinking. The alcohol barrels may have leaked fumes, causing a boom that mimicked an explosion, prompting panic. The lifeboat ropes were cut, suggesting haste. But McGregor's theory, while plausible, doesn't explain why they didn't return or signal for help. In 2005, a UCL team tested the fume explosion theory, finding it possible without damage, but no definitive proof exists. The Mary Celeste remains a riddle, a ship that sailed into legend. As we reflect on this enigma, we are left with the thrill of the unknown, a reminder that some mysteries are meant to endure, their truths hidden just beyond our reach. The Mary Celeste invites us to keep searching, to keep questioning, and to keep marveling at the wonders of the past. The mystery of the Mary Celeste endures, a ghost ship that sails through our imagination, a tale that reminds us that the sea holds secrets it may never reveal. The Flannan Isles Lighthouse Keepers, Scotland's vanishing guardians. Imagine a remote lighthouse perched on a rocky outcrop in the stormy Atlantic, its beam cutting through the fog like a beacon of hope for sailors lost at sea. This is the Flannan Isles Lighthouse, a solitary sentinel off the coast of Scotland's Outer Hebrides, where in December 1900, 3 experienced keepers vanished without a trace, leaving behind a mystery that has haunted the world for over a century. The lighthouse stood empty, its logbook open to an entry that spoke of a fierce storm and strange fears, but no sign of struggle or foul play. What happened to Thomas Marshall, James Duckett, and Donald MacArthur? Were they claimed by the sea, victims of a supernatural force, or something more sinister? As we continue our journey through mysterious historical disappearances, let us delve into the enigma of the Flannan Isles, a tale that blends isolation, superstition, and the relentless power of nature. The lighthouse that stood alone. Our story begins in the late 19th century, when the Northern Lighthouse Board commissioned the construction of a lighthouse on Island Moor, the largest of the Flannan Isles. These remote islands, 18 miles west of the Isle of Lewis, were treacherous for ships, with jagged rocks and fierce storms that had claimed countless lives. The lighthouse, completed in 1899, was a marvel of engineering, a 75-foot tower of stone, designed to withstand the harshest weather, its light visible for 20 miles. The keepers assigned to this lonely outpost were men of the sea, hardened by years of service. Thomas Marshall, the second assistant, was a young man with a steady hand. James Duckett, The principal keeper was a family man with a wife and 4 children, known for his reliability. Donald MacArthur, the occasional keeper, was a strong, capable sailor. They were expected to maintain the light, log the weather, and endure the isolation for 6-week shifts. But on this fateful rotation, something went terribly wrong. The lighthouse was equipped with the latest technology, a Fresnel lens that amplified the light, and a clockwork mechanism that required winding every few hours. The keeper's duties were routine: clean the lens, refill the oil, and keep watch. But the Flannan Isles were a place of legends. Local folklore spoke of strange spirits, giant birds that carried men away, and eerie lights that lured sailors to their doom. The islands were uninhabited, save for sheep and seabirds, but the keepers reported nothing unusual in their logs. At first, the mystery unfolds. On December 15th, 1900, the steamer Archer passed the Flannan Isles and noted that the lighthouse was dark, a grave omen for any mariner. Word reached the Northern Lighthouse Board, but heavy seas delayed investigation. On December 26th, the relief ship Hesperus finally approached. Alan Moore, Joseph Moore, the relief keeper, rowed ashore, expecting to be greeted by his colleagues. Instead, he found silence. The lighthouse door was unlocked, the beds unmade, and the clocks stopped. The table was set for a meal, but the food untouched. The oilskins, raincoats were hanging by the door, but one set was missing. The logbook, open on the table, held the last entries. On December 12th, Ducat wrote of a severe storm, with winds stronger than any he had known. Marshall noted that Ducat was irritable, and MacArthur, usually stoic, had been crying. The final entry on December 15th read, "Storm ended, sea calm, God is over all." After that, nothing. Moore's search of the island revealed more clues. The west landing platform was damaged, with ropes tangled and iron railings bent as if by a massive wave. But the east platform was intact. The keeper's disappearance was complete. No bodies, no lifeboat, no sign of struggle. What could have driven 3 experienced men to abandon their posts in such haste? The mystery of the Flannan Isles had begun. Theories that chill the soul. The disappearance sparked immediate speculation. The official inquiry concluded that a freak wave had swept the men away while they were securing the west landing. The damage to the platform supported this, but questions lingered. Why was one oilskin left behind? Why was the table set for a meal? And why did the log entries speak of fear during a storm that weather records show had ended earlier? Supernatural theories abounded. Locals spoke of sea spirits or giant birds that carried men away. Some believed the keepers were abducted by foreign spies or smugglers. A more sinister idea suggested murder. Perhaps a fight broke out, and one keeper killed the others, then fled. But no blood or signs of violence were found. Another theory points to psychological strain. Isolation can drive men mad. Perhaps one keeper snapped, killing the others and jumping into the sea. The log's mention of crying and irritability hints at tension. Or perhaps a rogue wave hit while they were outside, washing them away. But the calm sea in the final entry contradicts this. Modern investigations have revisited the case. In 2014, a documentary suggested a massive wave, but weather data shows no storm on December 15th. A 2018 book proposed carbon monoxide poisoning from the lamp, causing hallucinations. But the lighthouse was well ventilated. The truth remains elusive, a mystery as deep as the Atlantic, a legacy of legend and lore. The Flannan Isles mystery has inspired poetry, books, and films. Wilfred Wilson Gibson's 1912 poem, Flannan Isle, captured the eerie atmosphere, while the 2018 film The Vanishing dramatized a murder theory. The tale has become part of maritime folklore, a cautionary story for lighthouse keepers. But the real legacy is the human element, the lives cut short, the families left wondering. Ducat's wife received a telegram on Christmas Eve. Ducat missing. The board paid the salaries until December 15th, the last log entry. The lighthouse was automated in 1971, its light still shining, a silent tribute to the lost keepers. As we reflect on this enigma, we are left with a sense of wonder at the power of the sea and the fragility of human life. The Flannan Isles invite us to ponder the unknown, to embrace the mystery, and to remember those who vanished without a trace. And perhaps, in the quiet of the night, we can hear the whisper of the waves, telling a story that may never be fully known. The mystery of the Flannan Isles endures, a tale that reminds us that some secrets are meant to remain hidden, their truths lost to the winds and the waves. The Princes in the Tower, England's royal riddle. Imagine a foreboding fortress rising from the banks of the Thames, its stone walls echoing with the whispers of intrigue and betrayal. This is the Tower of London in 1483, a place where kings were crowned and traitors beheaded, where the air was thick with the scent of power and peril. Here, two young princes, Edward I, the 12-year-old king, and his 9-year-old brother, Richard, Duke of York, were confined by their uncle Richard, Duke of Gloucester. What began as a protective measure soon turned into one of history's most chilling mysteries. The princes vanished without a trace, their fate a puzzle that has haunted England for over 500 years. But what really happened to the boys? Were they victims of a ruthless power grab, or did they escape to live in secrecy? And what clues have been left behind in the shadows of the tower? Let us journey back to a time of Tudor treachery to uncover the enigma of the princes in the tower, a tale that blends royal ambition, dark deeds, and enduring legend, a kingdom in turmoil. Our story begins in the turbulent year of 1483, when England was reeling from the death of King Edward IV. Edward had ruled with a firm hand, but his death left a power vacuum that would engulf his family. His heir, young Edward V, was just 12 years old, too young to rule alone. The king had named his brother Richard, Duke of Gloucester, as protector, entrusting him with the boy's safety. Richard, a loyal supporter during Edward's reign, seemed the perfect guardian. But ambition has a way of corrupting even the most steadfast hearts. As Edward V traveled from Ludlow to London for his coronation, Richard intercepted him, claiming to protect him from threats. The boy king was lodged in the Tower of London, then a royal residence, not the prison it would later become. Soon, his younger brother Richard joined him, supposedly for safety. But as weeks turned to months, the princes were seen less and less. Rumors began to swirl, whispers of illness, of foul play. Richard, meanwhile, moved swiftly. He declared Edward IV's marriage invalid, making his sons illegitimate and clearing his path to the throne. On July 6, 1483, Richard was crowned King Richard III. The princes were never seen again. What happened in those fateful months? Contemporary accounts are scarce and biased, written by Tudor historians eager to vilify Richard. Sir Thomas More, in his History of King Richard III, claimed the princes were smothered on Richard's orders by Sir James Tyrrell. Moore's vivid description, two men pressing pillows over the boys' faces as they slept, has shaped the popular image of Richard as a villain. But Moore wrote under Henry VIII, Richard's conqueror's son, so his account may be propaganda. Shakespeare amplified this in Richard III, portraying Richard as a hunchbacked monster who murdered his nephews for the crown. But is this truth or Tudor fiction? Clues from the bones. The mystery deepened in 1674 when workmen renovating the tower uncovered a wooden box containing two small skeletons beneath a staircase. King Charles II ordered them reburied in Westminster Abbey, assuming they were the princes. In 1933, the bones were exhumed for examination. Anthropologists concluded they belonged to children aged 12 and 9, matching the princes' ages, with signs of possible suffocation. But without DNA testing, certainty was impossible. In 1994, Queen Elizabeth II denied permission for DNA analysis, citing the sanctity of royal remains. This decision fueled speculation. Does the monarchy fear what the bones might reveal? If not the princes, who are they? And if they are, does it prove Richard's guilt? Recent advances in DNA could compare the bones to Richard's remains, found in 2012 under a Leicester parking lot. Richard's scoliosis confirmed Shakespeare's hunchback, but his DNA showed no evidence of villainy. If tested, the bones could exonerate or condemn him, but the Queen's refusal keeps the mystery alive. Alternative theories. Not all believe the princes were murdered. Some suggest they survived, hidden away for safety. The Perkin Warbeck pretender in 1491 claimed to be Prince Richard, gaining support from European royals. Warbeck's knowledge of court life was uncanny, but Henry VII captured and executed him as a fraud. Was Warbeck the real prince, or a pawn in a plot against the Tudors? Another theory implicates Henry VII himself. As the Lancastrian victor at Bosworth in 1485, Henry had motive to eliminate rivals. Perhaps Richard hid the princes, and Henry found and killed them after taking the throne. This would explain the Tudors' efforts to blacken Richard's name. Or maybe Margaret Beaufort, Henry's mother, orchestrated the murders to secure her son's claim. Her ambition was legendary, but evidence is circumstantial. A more romantic theory suggests the princes escaped to Europe, living in obscurity. In 2004, a Belgian historian claimed Prince Richard became a bricklayer in East Anglia, but DNA tests on supposed descendants were inconclusive. These theories keep the mystery alive, a puzzle with pieces scattered through time. The tower's dark secrets, the Tower of London, the prince's last known home, holds its own mysteries. Built by William the Conqueror in 1078, it has been a palace, prison, and execution site. Its walls have witnessed countless tragedies, from Anne Boleyn's beheading to Guy Fawkes's torture. The staircase where the bones were found is near the White Tower, the prince's likely quarters. But why bury them there? If murdered, why not dispose of the bodies in the Thames? The tower's ghosts, including the prince's apparitions seen in 1483 attire, add to the eerie atmosphere. Modern forensics could solve the riddle, but the royal family's refusal leaves it open. In 2018, a petition called for DNA testing, but it was denied. Why the secrecy? Does the monarchy fear disrupting history, or is there more at stake? A legacy of intrigues. The Princes in the Tower remain England's most enduring mystery, a tale that has inspired countless books, plays, and films. From Shakespeare's villainous Richard to Josephine Tey's detective novel The Daughter of Time, the story has been retold and reinterpreted. It speaks to our fascination with royal intrigue, the innocence of children, and the darkness of power. But the mystery is more than entertainment. It's a window into Tudor England, a time of paranoia and propaganda. Richard III's reputation as a monster was crafted by his enemies, but recent discoveries, like his scoliosis, humanize him. If the bones are tested and prove the prince's identity, it could vindicate or condemn him. Until then, the mystery endures, a reminder that history is often written by the victors, and the truth lies buried in the shadows. The Prince and the Tower invite us to keep searching, to keep questioning, and to keep marveling at the enigmas of the past. Their story is a testament to the power of mystery to captivate the human imagination, a tale that refuses to be forgotten. Ambrose Bierce's Disappearance, the writer who vanished into the Revolution. In the fading light of a Mexican sunset, a grizzled American writer rode into the chaos of revolution, his pen traded for a pistol, his cynicism sharpened by a lifetime of observing human folly. This is the story of Ambrose Bierce, the acerbic author of The Devil's Dictionary and haunting short stories like An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, who at the age of 71 decided to embark on one last adventure and vanished without a trace. In December 1913, Bierce crossed the border from Texas into Mexico, drawn by the turmoil of the Mexican Revolution, only to disappear into its bloody maw. But what compelled this literary legend to seek danger in a foreign war? Was his fate sealed by bandits, revolutionaries, or his own dark desires? And why, after more than a century, does his disappearance continue to intrigue and elude us? Let us journey back to a time of upheaval and uncertainty to uncover the enigma of a man who seemed to write his own mysterious ending. A life shaped by war and wit. Ambrose Bierce was no stranger to the horrors of conflict. Born in 1842 in Ohio, he grew up in a large, poor family, his early years marked by hardship and a thirst for knowledge. At 19, he enlisted in the Union Army during the American Civil War, fighting in battles like Shiloh and Chickamauga, where the carnage he witnessed would haunt his writing for the rest of his life. Bierce's war stories, with their twist endings and unflinching portrayal of death, established him as a master of the macabre. His experiences forged a cynical worldview, one that saw humanity as flawed and fate as cruel. After the war, Bierce moved to San Francisco, where he became a journalist for William Randolph Hearst's newspapers. His biting columns earned him the nickname Bitter Bierce, as he skewered politicians, hypocrites, and society with razor-sharp wit. In 1896, Hearst sent him to Washington, D.C., to report on a railroad bill where Bierce's relentless campaign helped defeat it. But success did not bring peace. Bierce's personal life was marred by tragedy. His two sons died young, one by suicide, the other in a duel, and his marriage ended in divorce. By 1913, at 71, Bierce was restless. He had achieved fame, but the fire of adventure still burned. The Mexican Revolution, raging since 1910, caught his eye. Led by figures like Pancho Villa and Emiliano Zapata, it was a whirlwind of idealism and violence. Bierce wrote to a friend, "Goodbye. If you hear of my being stood up against a Mexican stone wall and shot to rags, please know that I think that a pretty good way to depart this life." Was this a premonition or a deliberate embrace of danger? Bierce set out from Washington, D.C. in October 1913, traveling by train to Texas, where he crossed into Mexico. His last known letter, dated December 26, 1913, from Chihuahua, said he was heading south to join Villa's army. Then silence. The vanishing act. Bierce's disappearance was as abrupt as one of his story twists. After his letter from Chihuahua, no reliable sightings emerged. He had told friends he intended to observe the revolution, perhaps even fight, but his trail went cold. In the chaos of war, with communications spotty and records scarce, it's possible he simply vanished into the fray. But the lack of any body, ransom demand, or eyewitness account has fueled speculation for over a century. One theory is that Bierce was killed in battle. He may have joined Villa's forces at the Battle of Ojinaga in January 1914, where heavy casualties occurred. A 1914 newspaper report claimed an old gringo was executed there, but details were vague. Another account from a priest said Bierce was shot as a spy by Villa himself. Villa was known for his ruthlessness, but why target an elderly American writer? Bierce's caustic personality could have made enemies quickly, but no concrete evidence supports this. A more romantic notion is that Bierce faked his death to start anew. Disillusioned with America and haunted by personal demons, he may have staged his disappearance to live anonymously. Some claim sightings in South America or Europe, but these are unverified. Bierce's love for irony makes this appealing. He once wrote, "Death is a dignity that precedes the clown." Did he orchestrate his own vanishing act? Conspiracy theories abound. Some say he was a spy for the U.S., gathering intelligence on the revolution, and was captured or killed. Others link him to Ambrose Small, a Canadian millionaire who disappeared in 1919, suggesting Bierce assumed a new identity. But these lack proof, mere whispers in the wind, clues, and dead ends. Bierce's last letters provide tantalizing clues. In one, he wrote, "As to me, I leave here tomorrow for an unknown destination." This cryptic note has been interpreted as a hint of suicide or deliberate disappearance. His friend, H.L. Mencken, said Bierce went to Mexico to have a dignified finish, implying he sought death in battle. But no body was ever found, no grave marked. Searches were sporadic. In 1914, Bierce's daughter hired detectives, but the revolution made investigation impossible. In the 1920s, American consul Thomas Dwyer probed, interviewing Villa, who denied knowing Bierce. In 2004, a team explored Ojinaga, finding no evidence. The mystery persists, a puzzle with pieces scattered across time. Bierce's life was a series of reinventions, from soldier to writer, satirist to adventurer. His disappearance fits this pattern, a final twist in his own story. But what really happened? Did he die a hero's death or slip away into obscurity? A literary legacy left behind. Bierce's disappearance didn't diminish his literary impact. His works, like The Devil's Dictionary, with its biting definitions, Peace in International Affairs, A Period of Cheating Between Two Periods of Fighting, remain classics. His war stories influenced Hemingway, and his cynicism shaped American literature. The mystery has inspired books, films, and theories. Carlos Fuentes' novel, The Old Gringo, fictionalizes Bierce's fate, while documentaries explore the case. It's a reminder that some lives end not with a period, but with a question mark. As we reflect on this enigma, we are left with the thrill of the unknown, a testament to the enduring power of mystery. Ambrose Bierce's disappearance invites us to imagine. to speculate, and to wonder what adventures await beyond the horizon. The enigma of Ambrose Bierce endures, a story that reminds us that some endings are not written but left to the imagination. Jimmy Hoffa's vanishing, the Union boss who disappeared. Imagine a sweltering summer day in 1975 in the parking lot of a suburban Detroit restaurant where a powerful man steps out of his car, checks his watch, and waits for a meeting that will change everything. This is the story of Jimmy Hoffa, the fiery labor leader who rose from the docks to become one of America's most influential figures, only to vanish without a trace, leaving behind a mystery that has baffled investigators, inspired movies, and fueled conspiracy theories for nearly 50 years. Hoffa was a man who fought for workers' rights with the ferocity of a lion, but his ties to the underworld may have been his undoing. What really happened on that fateful day? Was he the victim of a mafia hit, or is there a more sinister plot at play? And why, after decades of searches, has his body never been found? Let us journey back to a time of labor wars, mob bosses, and political intrigues to uncover the enigma of a man who disappeared into thin air. A rise from the ranks. James Riddle Hoffa was born on February 14, 1913, in Brazil, Indiana, into a working-class family. His father, a coal driller, died when Jimmy was 7, leaving his mother to support the family. From an early age, Hoffa knew the grind of labor. He dropped out of school at 14 to work in a grocery warehouse, where long hours and low pay ignited his passion for workers' rights. By 1932, at 19, he organized his first strike, demanding better conditions. This bold move marked the beginning of a career that would see him rise through the ranks of the International Brotherhoods of Teamsters, one of America's most powerful unions. Hoffa's charisma and tenacity made him a natural leader. He expanded the Teamsters' membership from 75,000 to over 2 million, negotiating contracts that improved wages, benefits, and working conditions for truckers, warehouse workers, and others. His slogan, "Give 'em hell," embodied his fighting spirit. But Hoffa's methods were controversial. He allied with organized crime to consolidate power, using mob muscle to intimidate rivals and expand influence. This unholy alliance would prove his greatest strength and his fatal weakness. By the 1950s, Hoffa was the Teamsters president, a position that made him one of the most powerful men in America. He controlled the union's pension fund, a $2 billion pot that he loaned to casinos, real estate, and even mob figures. His enemies were many. The Kennedy brothers, Robert and John, saw him as a threat to labor integrity. As Attorney General, Robert Kennedy pursued Hoffa relentlessly, leading to his 1964 conviction for jury tampering and fraud. Hoffa spent 4 years in prison, but his legend grew. He was a hero to workers, a villain to reformers. Released in 1971 by President Nixon, with the condition he not run for Union office until 1980, Hoffa vowed to reclaim his throne. But Dave Beck and Frank Fitzsimmons had taken control, and they weren't giving it up. Hoffa's comeback bid ruffled feathers, especially among mob bosses who preferred the status quo. This set the stage for his final act, a meeting that would lead to his disappearance. The fateful day. On July 30th, 1975, Hoffa left his Detroit home, telling his wife Josephine he was meeting Anthony, Tony Jack Giacalone, and Anthony, Tony Provenzano, mob-linked Union officials, at the Machus Red Fox restaurant in Bloomfield Township. He expected to resolve tensions and regain influence, but as the afternoon wore on, Hoffa grew impatient. He called home at 2:15 p.m., saying he'd been stood up. That was the last anyone heard from him. When Hoffa didn't return, Josephine reported him missing. His green Pontiac Grandville was found in the parking lot, unlocked with no signs of struggle. The FBI launched a massive investigation, interviewing hundreds, but leads dried up. Giacalone and Provenzano had alibis, Giacalone at a gym, Provenzano in New Jersey. No witnesses saw Hoffa leave or enter a car. The disappearance made headlines, with theories exploding. The most popular, a mafia hit. Hoffa had crossed the mob by trying to reclaim the Teamsters, threatening their pension fund control. Provenzano, with whom Hoffa had feuded, was a prime suspect. In prison, they'd fought, and Provenzano allegedly threatened Hoffa. Giacalone was a Detroit mob capo. The meeting may have been a setup, with Hoffa lured to his death. But how was it done? One theory. Hoffa was picked up by a familiar face, driven to a house, shot, and his body disposed of, perhaps chopped up, dissolved in acid, or buried under Giant Stadium. In 2006, the FBI dug up a Michigan farm based on a deathbed confession by mobster Frank Sheeran, depicted in The Irishman, but found nothing. In 2022, another tips led to digging under a New Jersey bridge, but again empty. Other theories abound. Some say Hoffa was kidnapped by federal agents or rivals within the Union. A wilder idea. He faked his disappearance to escape enemies, living out his days in hiding. But Hoffa was declared legally dead in 1982, and his family believes he was murdered. The investigations and the elusive truth. The FBI's probe, codenamed Hoffix, was one of the largest in history, generating over 16,000 pages of documents. Informants pointed to the mafia. Sheeran claimed he shot Hoffa in a Detroit house on Provenzano's orders, his body cremated. But Sheeran died in 2003, and his story, while compelling, lacks corroboration. In 2004, blood samples from the house matched Hoffa's DNA, but not conclusively. In 2013, a driveway in Detroit was dug up based on a tip from mobster Tony Zerilli, but nothing was found. In 2021, the FBI searched a New Jersey landfill under the Pulaski Skyway, following a deathbed confession, but again, no body. The case remains open, a cold file gathering dust. Why has no one cracked it? The Mafia's code of silence, omerta, and the passage of time have buried the truth. Hoffa's disappearance has become cultural iconography. Films like Hoffa, 1992, and The Irishman, 2019, dramatize his life, while books and documentaries explore the mystery. It's a symbol of America's underbelly, the intersection of labor, crime, and power. But the greatest mystery is Hoffa's fate. Was he buried in a stadium foundation, dumped in a swamp, or incinerated? Or is there a twist we haven't considered? The lack of a body keeps the legend alive, a ghost haunting the annals of American history. Hoffa's story is a cautionary tale of power's perils and the darkness that lurks in its shadows. It reminds us that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, their truths buried forever. And as we ponder this enigma, we are left with the thrill of the unknown, a reminder that history is full of stories waiting to be told. The Ninth Legion's fate, Rome's lost warriors in Scotland. Imagine the misty moors of ancient Scotland, where the wind howls through the heather and the fog conceals secrets from a forgotten age. This is the landscape where, in 120 AD, an entire Roman legion, the Ninth Hispana, marched into oblivion, vanishing without a trace and leaving behind one of history's most enduring mysteries. Numbering over 5,000 men, these elite soldiers were the backbone of Rome's military might, yet they disappeared from the records as if swallowed by the earth. What happened to these warriors? Were they annihilated by Caledonian tribes, lost to a supernatural force, or did they simply disband in disgrace? As we continue our journey through mysterious, historical disappearances, we delve into the enigma of the Ninth Legion, a tale of empire, ambition, and the unknown that has intrigued historians, archaeologists, and storytellers for centuries. Rome's iron fist in the north. Our story begins in the 1st century AD, when the Roman Empire, at the height of its power, turned its gaze northward to the wild lands of Britannia. Emperor Claudius launched the invasion in 43 AD, and by 79 AD, under Governor Agricola, Roman legions had pushed deep into Scotland, then known as Caledonia. The Ninth Hispana, a legion with a storied history, was among them. Formed in Spain during the Republican era, the Ninth had fought in Gaul, Spain, and Britain, earning a reputation for discipline and ferocity. The legion's emblem, a bull, symbolized strength and determination, qualities they needed in the harsh Scottish terrain. The Caledonians, fierce tribes like the Picts, resisted with guerrilla tactics, ambushing Roman columns and vanishing into the mists. Agricola's campaign culminated in the Battle of Mons Graupius in 83 AD, where the Ninth fought valiantly, helping secure a decisive victory. But Rome's hold on the north was tenuous. Emperor Domitian recalled Agricola, and the legions retreated south, building Hadrian's Wall in 122 AD to mark the empire's northern limit. The Ninth was stationed at Eboracum, modern York, guarding the frontier. But after 120 AD, the legion vanishes from Roman records. No mention in military lists, no inscriptions, no traces. This sudden silence has fueled speculation for centuries. Did the legion meet a catastrophic end in the Scottish wilds, or is there a more mundane explanation? The legend of the Lost Legend. The mystery of the Ninth Legion has inspired legends and literature. Rosemary Sutcliffe's 1954 novel, The Eagle of the Ninth, later adapted into the film The Eagle, popularized the idea that the Legion was massacred in Scotland, its eagle standard, a symbol of Roman honor, lost forever. The book, based on historical speculation, captured the imagination, portraying the Ninth as brave warriors meeting a heroic end against barbarian hordes. Historical evidence is scant. The last confirmed mention of the Ninth is an inscription from York dated to 108 AD. After that, nothing. Some historians believe the legion was transferred to the Rhine or Middle East, where it was destroyed in the Bar Kokhba revolt in 132 AD or the Parthian War in 161 AD. A tile stamp from Nijmegen in the Netherlands, dated to the 2nd century, suggests the Ninth was there, but it's debated. Others argue the legion was disbanded in disgrace after a defeat in Britain. Roman legions were occasionally decimated or dissolved for failure, but no record supports this. The absence is puzzling. Roman administration was meticulous. Why erase a legion from history? Archaeological digs in Scotland have found Roman artifacts, coins, pottery, forts, but no mass grave or battle site linked to the Ninth. In 2015, a Roman fort at Vindolanda yielded tablets mentioning other legions, but not the Ninth. The lack of evidence fuels the mystery. If they were massacred, where are the bodies? If disbanded, why no mention? Theories that haunt the moors, theories about the Ninth's fate abound. The most popular is annihilation by Caledonian tribes. In 117 AD, during Hadrian's reign, reports of heavy losses in Britain led to the construction of Hadrian's Wall. The Ninth may have been wiped out in a disastrous campaign north of the Wall, their defeat so humiliating that Rome erased their name. But no archaeological evidence supports a large battle. Another theory suggests mutiny or desertion. Legions sometimes rebelled, but the Ninth had a proud history. Perhaps they were transferred east and lost in the Jewish revolt of 132 AD, where Rome suffered heavy casualties. An inscription from Judea mentions a legion, but not specifically the Ninth. More fanciful theories claim the legion survived, marching into legend. Some say they went north, integrating with the Picts, their descendants the red-haired Scots. Others link them to Arthurian legend, the Ninth as King Arthur's Knights. These romantic notions, popularized in books like The Last Legion, lack historical basis but add to the allure. Recent discoveries keep the mystery alive. In 2018, a Roman coin from the Ninth was found in Scotland, but it doesn't prove their presence in 120 AD. Satellite imagery and LIDAR have revealed hidden Roman camps, but no smoking gun. The Ninth's fate is a reminder that history is full of gaps where facts give way to legend. It invites us to ponder the human cost of empire, the lives lost in forgotten battles, the stories erased by time. The mystery of the Ninth Legion endures, a tale that reminds us that some secrets are meant to remain hidden, their truths lost to the mists of time. The USS Cyclops crew, the vanishing ship of the Atlantic. Imagine a colossal ship, over 500 feet long, laden with 11,000 tons of manganese ore, slicing through the choppy waters of the Atlantic. This is the USS Cyclops, a U.S. Navy collier that set sail from Barbados on March 4, 1918, bound for Baltimore with 306 souls on board, crew, passengers, and officers. Commanded by the eccentric Lieutenant Commander George W. Worley, the Cyclops was a vital asset in World War I, transporting essential cargo for the war effort. But somewhere between the Caribbean and the U.S. East Coast, the ship and everyone aboard disappeared without a trace. No distress signal, no wreckage, no survivors. The USS Cyclops became one of the greatest maritime mysteries of the 20th century, a ghost ship swallowed by the sea. But what really happened to the Cyclops? Was it a tragic accident, an act of sabotage, or something more sinister? And why has no trace of the ship ever been found? Let us journey back to a time of war and wonder to uncover the enigma of a vessel that vanished into thin air. A ship built for war. The USS Cyclops was no ordinary vessel. Commissioned in 1910, she was one of the Navy's largest colliers, designed to carry coal and cargo for the fleet. At 542 feet long and displacing 19,360 tons when fully loaded, she was a behemoth of the seas. Her crew of 236 was supplemented by 70 passengers on that fateful voyage, including U.S. Consul General Alfred L. Gottschalk, making a total of 306 people. The cargo, 11,000 tons of manganese ore, crucial for steel production in the war effort. Captain Worley was an odd choice for command. Born Johann Wichmann in Germany, he had changed his name and become a U.S. citizen. Known for his heavy drinking and eccentric behavior, he often paraded the decks in his long underwear, revolver in hand. Crew members complained of his paranoia. He accused them of mutiny and once confined the executive officer to quarters. Was Worley's instability a factor in the disappearance, or was it just a red herring in a deeper mystery? The Cyclops left Rio de Janeiro on February 16, 1918, after loading her cargo. She stopped in Barbados on March 3rd to take on more coal, departing the next day for Baltimore. The weather was fair, the sea calm. The last communication was a routine radio message. All well? Then silence, no SOS, no debris. The Navy launched a massive search, scouring 100,000 square miles of ocean, but found nothing. The Cyclops had vanished. Theories that stir the imagination. The disappearance of the Cyclops has spawned countless theories, each more intriguing than the last. One of the most popular is structural failure. The ship was overloaded with manganese ore, a heavy cargo that could shift in rough seas, causing instability. Reports from Barbados noted cracks in her engine, and Worley had wired for repairs, but was ordered to proceed. Perhaps the engine failed, or the hull split, sinking her quickly. But why no wreckage? Manganese ore is dense. If the ship sank, it would go down fast, but debris should have floated. Another theory points to mutiny. Worley's tyrannical behavior may have pushed the crew over the edge. The executive officer, Lieutenant Clarence Black, was confined after accusing Worley of pro-German sympathies. Worley was German-born, and America was at war with Germany. Perhaps a mutiny erupted. The crew killed Worley, and then abandoned ship or were lost at sea. But again, no bodies or lifeboats were found. The Bermuda Triangle theory adds a supernatural twist. The Cyclops disappeared in the infamous triangle, known for vanishing ships and planes. Some claim strange weather or magnetic anomalies doomed her, but the triangle's boundaries are vague, and science debunks it as myth. Still, the coincidence is chilling. A more sinister idea is espionage. With World War I raging, German U-boats patrolled the Atlantic, but no U-boat claimed a hit on the Cyclops, and Germany denied involvement. Worley's German heritage fueled rumors he defected, sailing to Germany with the ore for their war machine. But the ship was unarmed, and the cargo essential to America. Why betray? And how could a 1,000,000-ton ship slip unnoticed? Weather records show storms in the area. Perhaps a rogue wave or waterspout overwhelmed her. The Cyclops had a history of rolling heavily, and overloading could have caused capsizing. But no distress call. The radio was functional in Barbados. These theories keep the mystery alive, a puzzle with pieces scattered across the ocean floor. The legacy of the lost. The Cyclops' disappearance is the U.S. Navy's single largest loss of life, not involving combat. It inspired books like The Bermuda Triangle by Charles Berlitz, cementing its place in lore. The Navy's official conclusion, unknown cause, perhaps structural failure. But the lack of wreckage keeps speculation alive. In 1968, Daver Dean Hawes claimed to find the wreck off Virginia, but dives found nothing. In 1991, a shipwreck near Cape Hatteras was thought to be the Cyclops, but measurements didn't match. Sonar scans and submersibles have searched, but the Atlantic's depths guard their secrets. The mystery has cultural resonance. Arthur Conan Doyle referenced it in stories, and it's featured in TV shows like In Search Of. It's a symbol of the sea's unpredictability and the unknown's allure. As we reflect on this enigma, we are left with the thrill of the unsolved, a reminder that some stories don't have endings. They have horizons, stretching into infinity. The mystery of the USS Cyclops endures, a tale that invites us to ponder the unknown, to embrace the enigma, and to wonder what lies beneath the waves. Percy Fawcett's Amazon expedition, The Hunt for the Lost City Zid. In the sweltering heat of the Amazon rainforest, where the air is thick with humidity and the sounds of exotic birds and insects fill the air, a British explorer named Percy Fawcett embarked on his final journey in 1925. Fawcett, a seasoned adventurer with a reputation for surviving the impossible, was obsessed with finding a lost city he called Zede, a legendary metropolis hidden deep in the jungle, said to be the remnant of an ancient civilization. Accompanied by his son Jack and close friend Raleigh Ramel, Fawcett vanished without a trace, leaving behind one of the most enduring mysteries of the 20th century. But what drove this fearless explorer to risk everything? What clues did he leave behind? And could City Z really exist, waiting to be discovered? As we conclude our series on mysterious historical disappearances, let us venture into the heart of the Amazon to uncover the enigma of Percy Fawcett's fateful expedition, a life of adventure and obsession. Percy Harrison Fawcett was born in 1877 in Torquay, England, into a family of explorers and military men. From a young age, he was drawn to the unknown, enlisting in the British Army and serving in Ceylon and North Africa. But it was his assignment to South America in 1906 that ignited his passion for the Amazon. Commissioned by the Royal Geographical Society to map the Bolivia-Brazil border, Fawcett's first expedition was a harrowing ordeal plagued by disease, hostile tribes, and the relentless jungle. Yet he survived, earning a reputation as an indomitable explorer. Over the next 2 decades, Fawcett returned to the Amazon 7 times, each expedition pushing deeper into the uncharted wilderness. He faced piranhas, anacondas, and deadly insects, but it was the tales of lost civilizations that captivated him. Local tribes spoke of ancient cities hidden in the jungle, ruins overgrown with vines and guarded by spirits. Fawcett became convinced that a great civilization, perhaps even Atlantis, had once thrived in the Amazon. He called it City Z, a metropolis of gold and advanced knowledge, waiting to be rediscovered. Fawcett's obsession grew. He pored over old maps, ancient manuscripts, and explorers' journals, piecing together clues. In 1920, he found a document in Rio de Janeiro's National Library describing a city with houses one on top of the other. This fueled his determination. But Fawcett was no fool. He knew the dangers. Previous expeditions had ended in disaster, disease, starvation, and hostile tribes. Yet he pressed on, driven by a belief that Z held the key to humanity's forgotten past. The final expedition. By 1925, Fawcett was 57, his body worn from years of hardship, but his spirit unyielding. He planned his 8th expedition with care, selecting only 2 companions, his 21-year-old son Jack, eager for adventure, and Raleigh Ramel, a family friend with jungle experience. Fawcett believed a small team could move faster and avoid detection by hostile tribes. They departed from Cuiabá, Brazil, in April 1925, heading into the Mato Grosso region. Fawcett's last telegram, sent from Dead Horse Camp on May 29th, read, "You need have no fear of failure." Then silence. Months passed without word. Fawcett's wife Nina, back in England, clung to hope, but as years turned to decades, the expedition became legend. What happened? Fawcett's route led through territory controlled by the Kalapalo tribe, known for hostility. In 1951, Orlando Villas-Boas claimed the Kalapalo confessed to killing Fawcett after a dispute, but no evidence supported this. In 1996, an expedition found bones thought to be Fawcett's, but DNA tests proved otherwise. Another theory suggests disease or starvation claimed them. The Amazon is unforgiving. Malaria, dysentery, parasites. Fawcett's letters mentioned illness, but he was resilient. Perhaps they perished searching for Z, lost in the jungle's labyrinth. A more intriguing idea is that Fawcett found Z and chose to stay, living among its descendants. His interest in the occult and lost races fueled this notion. In 1927, a Swiss trapper claimed to see an elderly Englishman with natives, but it was unverified. Over 100 searchers have died seeking Fawcett, adding to the legend's tragedy. In 1951, Colonel Percy Fawcett's compass was found with natives, but no further clues. The legend of City Zid, Fawcett's obsession with Z, stemmed from tales of El Dorado and lost cities. He believed Z was a remnant of Atlantis with advanced knowledge. His evidence? Ancient manuscripts and native legends. In 1911, he found ruins in Bolivia, convincing him Z existed. Modern archaeology has found Amazonian settlements, but none match Fawcett's description. Satellite imagery reveals geoglyphs and roads, suggesting complex societies. Did Fawcett find something, or was Z a figment of imagination? Fawcett's disappearance inspired books like The Lost City of Z by David Gran and films starring Charlie Hunnam. It symbolizes the allure of the unknown, the drive to explore despite danger. But the mystery endures. In 2019, an expedition using LiDAR found structures in the Amazon, but no Zid. Fawcett's fate, death by tribe, disease, or choice, remains unknown. His story reminds us the jungle guards its secrets well. Fawcett's expedition invites reflection on exploration's cost and the unknown's allure. It challenges us to ponder what lies beyond the map's edge and whether some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved. Dear listeners, as we bring this series to a close, I want to thank you for joining me on this journey through mysterious historical disappearances. From the mists of Roanoke to the jungles of the Amazon, we have explored the enigmas that continue to captivate our imaginations. May these stories linger in your thoughts as you drift into sleep, and may your dreams be filled with the thrill of the unknown. Good night and sweet dreams.